Hello and welcome to another episode of Mysteries with a History, where I'll take you on a wild ride into the unknown, the strange, and the mysterious. Like you, I have questions, and like you, I want answers. Hello to everyone in the live chat, the live chatters. Tomorrow on Strange Paradigms, Luis Jimenez from UCR will be joining us as we cover the strange and mysterious news items of the last week starting at 4 p.m. PST tomorrow instead of 3 p.m. So make sure to join in the live chat. Also, I want to remind everyone that my Discord server now has an after show chat room and almost 700 members able to chat live, share files, text chat, or voice chat, post videos and pictures. And the rooms range from UFOs to research tech, Skinwalker Ranch, tell your own experience, the afterlife, and so many other super cool chat rooms. It's safe, secure, friendly, and a free way to build our community here. Now, on to today's show. California has so much going on that we are doing a part two for Mysteries of California. Part one will be in the description box below for you to catch up on all the weird stories that have taken place there. There's a lot to cover, so let me bring in my mentor, co host, and California native, Jimmy Church of Fade to Black Radio. Jimmy, tell me, how's it going today?
You know what? It's a beautiful day when I get to start your show an hour early. Because I'm just anticipating, I'm excited all day long, and I gotta wait. Today, I got a gift, and here we are. I've got my Space Sprockets, based in California, T-shirt on
It's
for
only
today.
appropriate.
And here's what's great. Welcome, hello everybody, and yes, I'm coming to you live from the state of total weirdness. And when you go around the country and you start talking about this stuff, it's like, what, are you from California? Yeah, I am. Yeah, with all the weirdo. Yeah, it all goes down out here. And you walk down Venice Beach on any day and you see all the beautiful souls down there, or Hollywood Boulevard or Sunset Boulevard or Santa Monica Boulevard, anywhere in San Francisco, you're going to get a taste of the weirdness. And other cities around this state, this is where free spirits reside. And I'm one of those, and I am very proud of it. I came out here for guitar. I stayed for the weirdness, and it all goes down. And so thank you. On the heels of the fabulous show that we did last week on California, knowing we had too much material for last week, that we had to do a part two. We could do a part three, part four, no problem. So we rolled over some of the stuff from last week, but we've got some new stuff also that have been added to the list, and the list is tremendously long, and I'm excited about today's show. I wanted to share this with everybody. Christina and I were chatting earlier, and she's experiencing rain right now, and the West Coast. It's dark and dreary outside. You can't see it right now, but it's still overcast here. But the other night, I talked about this last night on the show. We don't have thunderstorms here. It's very rare, and it's fun when it happens. The rest of the country, they experience it all the time, and it's nothing to them. And I get it. It's where I was raised. Out here, it's rare. And 2 nights ago, after the show, Christina, I was watching a documentary, and I won't go into that. Werner Herzog's new documentary, and I see my blinds are closed on my sliding glass. I'm in my bedroom, sliding glass door over here, big, and a big picture window here next to it. So I have all this glass, right? But I have the blinds closed, and I'm watching this documentary, and I'm watching them light up. And I thought it was somebody outside goofing around, And I'm like, what's going on? So I walked out on my patio, and panoramic, the entire sky, lightning, crazy. And I stood out there for 30 minutes
My goodness.
watching this lightning show, and just across the entire sky, just, and it was so much fun, and just so I was waiting for the mothership, right, to go through the clouds and land, and it was wild, man. And that's California, and I just love living here, and it was just a great experience, and it put me in this amazing mood. That lightning storm, and then going into this show this week, I've just been like uppity. I'm just in a great mood.
I am with you on loving the rain. Before we get into today's show, for me, I just love the way that it feels. And whenever there's rain, I have to have a cup of tea, a cup of hot chocolate, or a cup of coffee and watch Father Ted. That's like, it's a must. It is a must.
Christina turned me on to Father Ted. That is
for those that haven't watched it, totally recommend. It's a it's a sitcom from the late 90s, an Irish sitcom, and it's hilarious. Like, I have never laughed so hard in a TV show until I started watching Father Ted. So watch it. It's the best, and then come back to me and tell me that you love it. If you don't love it, then just don't message me.
You know, this is what I do with Father Ted. I get on my magnetic bike, right? And I pop on Father Ted, and I'm just going through the episodes.
It's the best. But there's a lot to cover today. Let's get into it. Michael, thank you so much. It says, do you think we're being watched by aliens, but they won't show themselves until we as humans get rid of hate from our hearts?
Yeah.
I think that's a plausible explanation. Someone that I keep coming back to when it comes to people being able to have their own sightings or experiences is Japanese researcher Norio Hayakawa, who wrote an article stating that maybe people are pre-selected to have experiences. So while it's not researched extensively, that's kind of where my mind goes, or at least to that possible theory. Now, is it the hate in our hearts? It could very well be. I mean, look at how we treat each other and our planet. So I wouldn't want to interact with us either if I was given a choice. But it is incredibly hard to say.
If you have a negative vibe going on, you know, let's say that you're doing a sky watch and you get 20, 30, 40 people together, and you've got one person there, man, probably will ruin it for everybody. But I guarantee, you know, why would ET want to, you know, react or hang out with somebody that has a negative heart, you know, darkness, or, you know, that just that doesn't believe or want to experience this. On the other hand, you might have 30 other people that have a great time, and then one person that doesn't have that experience. If you are out with a sky watch and you throw that intention out, and I'm being very serious, I think there's a consciousness connection, and things happen that are shown to you. And it's a wonderful thing to experience. But if you're somebody that is walking around with a chip on your shoulder about the subject, don't expect an experience. Don't expect a visitation. Don't expect a message. It's not going to. Why would they want to do that? They're not here to change your mind or to open it. No. So yeah, I would totally. Michael, that's a great post. I really believe. Truly, I mean, I truly believe that they're interested in people that are cool, that, you know, people that give back, you know, the people that have a brightness around them. That's who I want to hang out with. Why would ET be any different? And one last, no Debbie Downers. Thank you for that, Skyhawk. And here's the other thing, Michael. Everybody, listen to me. We call them aliens. To them, we are aliens. Think about that. When we arrive at a planet, right? Christina and I show up. We're in our craft and we show up, some little kid's going to go to their parents and go, Mom, I just saw a UFO, right? Think about that. So, yes, to ET, we are aliens. Now, would we want to interact with others out there that are negative? That's a drive-by. We're not gonna want to. Why? It's not a fun experience any more than you would want to have somebody that's negative at your house for a party to bum everybody. No, you just wouldn't do that. And so I just truly believe that's the case. I think that's a great post. Great post.
It is. And Lee Spiegel wrote an article in 2014 about the Malibu underwater base. And you know whose name I saw referenced in that article, Jimmy?
Yeah. I remember when that was written. And Lee and I bumped heads on that. We've since discussed it many times since then. When the Malibu, so we're going to jump straight into the Malibu base.
Let's get into it.
Okay, let me tell the history of this because it did blow up. It went completely viral. I had the local news, at my house interviewing me, ABC, and all that stuff. It went viral. All right, so let me explain how this happened. I get an anonymous email. It was from a guy named Max, okay? And he goes, Jimmy, check this out. And as I clicked on the picture that he had sent me from Google Earth, I had a vision. I've told the story many times. I had this vision pop in my head before I clicked on it. The pillars, it was weird. It was a strange experience for me. But I clicked on it and I looked, I went, what? So I got a hold of a friend of mine, Dale, that I've grown up with. He's really good with computers and imaging. And I said, here's this location, here's this, see what you can find out. And we did the deep dive. And so over the next 24 hours, that may have been what one of the images that we posted right there. So I wrote up the article. That right there is from my website. Is my name on that? Zoom in.
No, it just says Google.
Oh, it just says Google. Okay. But we got a whole series of images, and the depth, the size, the measurements, and I wrote up an article and I put it on jimmychurchradio.com. And I did not know what was about to happen over the next day or two or week or years, in that this went super viral. And my article, in a matter of 24 hours, was on, I forget the count, but it was 10,000 websites in 24 hours. Every news outlet, everything in the country and the world picked up on the story. And it took on a life of its own, to the point where, yes, I've got all the news services calling me, and including Lee Spiegel from the Huffington Post. And the story took off from there. I've done a couple of TV shows, 3 or 4 about it. It's been in many movies, and it's extraordinary. Now, the other part about this, this is right off the coast of Malibu, in between Point Mugu and Santa Monica. If you go to Point Mugu on Google Earth, you look out you can see it. It's a mile offshore, and it's there. It's still in Google Earth. And so anyway, I took a ship out there, and a research vessel, underwater UAVs, two of those, and dropped those into the water. We had a camera crew of probably 10 cameras, sound, lights, everything else, and different researchers, and we spent a day out there above that, trying to capture images. Rob Lowe did the same thing. He went out there with another ship. I was going to go out with Rob. He asked me to go on his expedition with him, and I couldn't because I had just completed filming for History Channel to do this, and there was a conflict of contracts and things. So I didn't get a chance to go out with Rob, but his issues that he had were the same as mine, which was very strange. We got clearance from the Navy and the Marines to be there. And even that was a bit strange. But we, every time our submersibles reached a certain depth, they would shut down. And we would pull them back up, and everything was fine. Everything worked. There was nothing wrong, the cabling and everything else. But it would get to a certain depth, and then the electronics would shut off. These were designed to go to 2,000 or 3,000 feet. They were shutting down at 100 feet. And Rob Lowe, same thing that he experienced. So I don't know if there's some kind of electronic fencing, some kind of protection of that area and the entrance of it. But that was very strange. Now,
Well, Jimmy, hold on. I have a quick question.
sure.
And Mark Tasaka, thank you so much for the super sticker. And John aside, happy birthday. I know it was yesterday, but happy birthday, my dear friend. So for those listening through a podcast platform, describe what this picture looks like, what Google Earth captured. Why do you think it's an underground base based
Right.
off of the pictures that you found?
Right. Okay. So it's a few thousand feet across. It's about 700. The entrance is about 700 feet tall. The pillars are about 150 feet across. No, pull up the other image. That's not a good image. Let me see that one right there. Okay. So you can see the coastline. Now, when you come out, these pillars are 150 feet in diameter. That main entrance square that you see in the middle, that's 750 feet tall, 750 feet wide. The top from edge to edge is about 2,500 feet, the roof, and it's about 1,500 feet in depth. It's an oval shape. The thickness of the roof is about 200 feet thick. It's very consistent in its design and how it is. Now, that being said, and the bottom of it is about 2,000 feet deep. So the top half of that main entrance, it's about 750 feet tall. So that's about 1,100 feet down. That's an incredible depth. Okay, that's not 15 feet. That's not 20 feet. You get to 1,000 feet, it's total darkness. It's black. There's no light down there. So you need sonar and very, very huge, bright, conventional lighting in order to light all of that up. You're just not going to cruise down there with something and see what's going on. It's at a tremendous depth. Now, okay, so here's the deal. This anomaly, this shape, I and others, I looked at every inch of coastline of all of the land in all of the world. Okay? I'm talking about scanning the coastline of every continent, everywhere, looking for this to repeat if it's natural. Couldn't find anything else, not even similar to it. This is the only thing like it. Now, go to the left, scan the picture over to the left. Just move it to the left. Okay, you can't. That's as far as you can go. Okay, over on the left-hand side of the picture is a Navy base and a Marine base with an airstrip. And this is all secured area. You just don't go and fly through here. You don't boat through here without clearance from the Navy. So it's in front of a Navy base, which is strange. And if you continue north and east from this and through the Navy base, it's a direct line to my home and to Edwards Air Force Base and to China Lake, which are just right out here in the Mojave Desert. And if you continue in a straight line from there, it also goes to Area 51. And that connection is weird. Is it a coincidence? I don't know, but that entrance certainly goes somewhere. And there have been rumors and stories for many years about Navy personnel just showing up in the middle of the desert, opening up a hatch and climbing out, or going in. These are stories that have been around for a very long time. Is it a connection to this? Does it go somewhere? I don't know. I've had remote viewers look at this too as well, and a random viewing, by the way, which is how you do a remote viewing. You've got an envelope, and inside the envelope is something that you don't know. Well, they went and did the whole thing. They did the pillars, they did the entrance, they did the water, and then and it goes back and into a large subterranean area. Now, I can't verify any of this because we haven't been able to. Nobody has been able to get down there and check this out. Now, there is a little bit of geographic information on this area, and it's called the Sycamore Shelf. And the Sycamore Shelf, and you can go and research that too as well, which is the name of this anomaly. And it looks a little bit different, still oval, still tall, but they're saying that that's a solid wall there. The imaging hasn't changed in 10 years since I first released this article back in 2013. And it's the imaging in Google Earth and Google Maps is exactly the same. It has not changed at all, which is interesting because it's all done with sonar. And you would think that because this was a pretty famous case, and if they needed to remap it or do something or hide it or change its appearance, it would have been done by now. But no, it still looks exactly the same. Now, I know I'm long-winded on this. I'm very passionate about this because I broke this story. And the amount of research, when you break a story that goes this big and international, like this did, where I've seen this now in books and I've seen it in documentaries, stuff that I wasn't a part of. You know, people have gone on and researched this a lot. And that's what happens when something gets this big. You have a lot of very, very, very smart people that are able to apply their own personal expertise and professionalism to try to get to the bottom of this. The anomaly, the entrance, and what it is still to be determined. You would have thought that over all of these years. Okay, you would have thought that, right? That we would have put this thing to bed, and we haven't. So I rented a plane. I didn't rent a plane. That's wrong. I have a friend, Steve Freund. He's a commercial pilot for Alaska Airlines. I grew up with him in high school before he was a pilot. He always wanted to be a pilot. Now he's a pilot, right? Okay, so he calls me up. This story's breaking, and he's like, "Church, I got a plane. Let's go." So I paid for the gas, right? And we go out and we get in this and we fly and we go out. And this was the crazy part. So he's got it in his GPS, right? It's marked and we're doing the flight over to there. And as we start to approach, we get contacted by the Navy base and everything else. And we tell them what we're doing. We're looking at dolphins. I'm not making that part up. There were dolphins. So we're just flying around videotaping dolphins. And they let us into the airspace. So as we approached, Christina, and I can see it on the GPS, and he's got it marked right in the middle of the roof of the underwater base. And so we're getting closer and closer, and I'm looking out the window. I've got my video cameras and stuff. And I'm looking, and I could see on the GPS, X marks the spot. I can see where the plane is, and we're getting close. And now I can see it out of the window. and and right there on All That I Love is a giant Navy ship with divers right over the top of the base. And so we come in, we're flying low. Right. We come in and we take this turn. And I'm looking out the window and I can see it's a big Navy gray research dive boat thing and sitting on X marks the spot. And they've got tubes, air hoses in the water. And there was like 5 divers, I think. I'd have to go back and look at the video in the water above the base, like a week after the story broke. Yeah. And so we circled over them for I don't know, maybe a half an hour, and I shot video and did everything else. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a crazy thing. It just may be totally natural. Now, if we back up to ocean depths, I think the research, it's been many years since I've looked at the numbers, but I think it was around 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, ocean levels were lower, and that was exposed. Yeah. So trip on that. So was it built above land, right? And then the water, I don't know. It's crazy. It's a crazy story, and it's right here in Malibu. Oh, one last thing. I'm sure you have questions. Is that in this area, that's where Ronald Reagan had his sighting with Nancy Reagan on PCH. And that from Point Mugu down through Malibu, all the way to San Diego. But if you go to Marina del Rey, Redondo Beach, into that area, now you start to form that triangle with Catalina Island, number one. Number two, the amount of sightings between Point Mugu, Malibu, and down to Marina del Rey, that area where the Malibu base is, there's a sighting, there's a UFO sighting every single day. Underwater UFOs coming in and out of the water, above the water, up in the sky, nearly every single day of the week. This is one of the biggest hotspots in the world. And you look at the markings, and Preston Dennett has done great research on this. And
amazing research.
Yeah, amazing research. And you start putting pins in the map, right? And you mark all the UFO sightings. And what's in the middle of all of that? The Malibu underwater base. Yeah, it's strange. I can't put it into words. Trying to ride that, it's like I don't know what it's like to be a guy in a rodeo on the back of a bull, but that's what that Malibu base discovery was like for me. Hang on, here we go. It was nuts. It was nuts. I got 1,000 emails a day. For months,
Unbelievable.
all around the world. It was absolutely crazy. So there you go. The Malibu underwater bay. Do you have any questions?
My only thing that I wanted to point out, and maybe you can address that, is when you were on the plane and you saw people scuba diving, right? I quickly looked at, well, how deep can a scuba diver go, knowing that this anomaly is about 2,000 feet, right? Below sea level. And they said, your average is going to be about 130 feet. But someone made a record in 2014 to go 1,000 feet.
Right. So the deep sea dudes, they wear these compression suits and they have oxygen hoses that go up and they're welding and fixing stuff. That's a whole different thing. And so they can get to pretty amazing depths with these very, very specialized suits.
Do you know what those suits are called by any chance?
I'm a deep sea diving suit. But yeah, and when we started to put our expedition together for this, I've done a few, but when we started putting the expedition together, we reached out to James Cameron He had built, the submersibles that went down to 17,000 feet for the Titanic. And we know that it's possible. And it turned out that submersibles that can go to 2,000 feet in the world, there's just a handful of them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. And they're horribly expensive to get. And we didn't have access to them. There was one that National Geographic was using at the time off the coast of Puerto Rico. They would have had to have brought it through the Panama Canal and up and around to us. And it was going to take a year and a half. We had to shoot in a month. Right. So and then James Cameron, his two that he had built, he took them both apart for parts. So they weren't even available. And his team was like, you could use it, but we took them apart a couple of years ago and we scuttled them for parts. So there just wasn't anything available. You see videos and you see things about people doing stuff like this, but there's only a couple of things like that in the entire world that can go down to that depth. Our submarines, crush depth is 500 feet for a nuclear submarine. Nuclear submarine to go to 1,000 feet, that's extremely classified information. Possible, but that's crazy depth. So when people say, why don't you just go down there and check it out? It's 2,000 feet, man.
Yeah, it's deep. When I first heard the story, I'm thinking, I'll just jump down there and check it out. And then I'm like, that's actually almost impossible, at least for civilian use, right? Civilian technology. So my question is, before we get into our next case, is what were some debunking stories that you came across?
Well, I had it's an easy thing to debunk, in that you can't. First off, anybody's opinion here can be said. You can't go down to 2,000 feet and check it out. So if somebody says, no, it's just a rock wall. Well, I can't say that it's not. I can't, you know what I mean? So if you're going to debunk it, you can say whatever you want. I can't prove anything, and neither can anybody else. It's literally at a depth where right now there's 7.5 billion people on this planet. Well, 7.5 billion people don't have the ability to go down there. Maybe 10 people do, right? That's it. There's no way to go down there and to see. So you can debunk it all day long. That's fine. It's just as valid as anything else. My opinion, or if you believe in the sonar data that Google has up there, and you use that as proof, okay, but until somebody gets down there and really checks it out, you'll never know. So we had submersibles, and we were having issues with sonar, but we could run live video with lights. Okay, so in the surface, right, we're dropping this thing down. I'm in the command center. We've got all these big screens, and I'm the captain of this ship. It was fun, man. It was so cool. So we're watching the fish come by, dolphins, and all of this. But almost immediately, after about 30 feet, 40 feet, it starts to get dark. 50 feet, 60 feet. The next thing you know, it's black. It's black. You get to 100 feet, there is no sunlight. So we had these massive searchlights, on the front. You see this in movies all the time. Forget that. How I did it for real. And I'm there, man. I got the joysticks, and I've got a huge crew around me. I've got, guys piloting the sonar. I got a guy running video. I've got a guy controlling the direction of the lights and these big screen things. And I'm standing there. Okay, let's go over here. Let's do this. We got cameras running, and the lights that are on the front. If you have ocean in front of you and it's all black, those lights that are there are effective for about 2 feet, 3 feet. That's all that you see as these things are going around. And unless a fish came up, or unless you were directly against something, a few feet away with the lights, you don't see anything but blackness. So, and we're talking about something that's 1,000 feet tall, and and the entrance is 750 feet wide, and we're on a research boat with a tether off of it that's got a 2,000-foot line. You can't just go with the because this thing is swing. You know what I mean. So we've got to go a quarter of a mile an hour over this giant area, and it just took forever to get things done. And we spent a lot of money, $100,000.
Well, my last question for you is, was it worth it?
It was worth it. It was worth it. It was worth it to get me on film breaking stuff, man. I mean, because I was upset. We had this huge crew and this beautiful boat, and it was a beautiful day. I had Steve Murillo out there with us too as well. And it could have been glorious. Something was running interference. Now, okay, so back to my point. We had video, we had lights, but that's only effective to a few feet. At 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet, you are in a blackness. There is no light. You have a lack of light. The only thing that works is sonar. And our sonar shut down. I'm talking about electrical interference. Kept shutting the sonar down. We could have pulled the UAV back. God, man, I remember like this like it was yesterday. And pointed the UAV at this structure with the sonar and snapped a picture. Right? That sonar is good. It can go out. No, would not work. Would not work. And I don't know, if it's the Navy base, is it the underground base? It was crazy. Light in the ocean decreases with depth, with minimal light generating between 200 and 1,000 meters feet and depths below one. Okay, that is a worthless post. Thank you for that, Mark. No light is what it is. There's no light. And to experience no light, right? It was the most frustrating thing. And I got bent out of shape. I was not happy.
So we're going to go into the next story, and that's about Alcatraz. Jimmy, would you visit Alcatraz?
I have.
Okay, so the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Well, there's some pretty bizarre stories there, and it's just right off the coast. Right off the coast. It's had a lot of movies written about it, a lot of books. There's a lot of lore and legend as well. But there's one story in particular that I really knew nothing about. It's incredibly short, so I'm just going to read it to you. And I do want to mention that this is San Francisco's Alcatraz Island. And like I said earlier, it has plenty of ghost stories and disturbing rumors about its former inmates. It's now open to the public. You can take tours. I looked at the prices on how much it costs. For an overnight tour, it's $60. For about 2 hours, it's about 40 or 50. So honestly, like, understandable prices. Well, there's this one story about an Alcatraz demon. And the story's about a prisoner, and he was ranting and raving that there was a demon in his cell. The guards ignored his cries, knowing that many of the prisoners were mentally ill and they were prone to seeing things. However, the next morning, the prisoner was found strangled in his cell with no apparent evidence or means that someone else had been in and out of his space. And while that story is incredibly short, Alcatraz as a whole is just so infamous. And I've heard countless stories, but this one was a new one for me. So when you visited Alcatraz, what was it like for you?
The first thing, Chris, I'm so glad you asked that. The first thing that you notice when you go out there, and even if it's the middle of the summer, is it's cold. Cold. The whole thing is just cold and windy and nasty and mean. right? And so you have these concrete walls. So you're not going to escape. The water is full of great white sharks, and it's ice cold. So swimming, if you manage to get into the water and live after a few feet, if the cold of the water doesn't kill you, the sharks will. So that's what enters into your mind is the wind and the cold and the concrete walls. How inhumane is this, where your existence is in an ice box all day long, all night, where you've got this cold, the thing, you don't have a fireplace in your cell, right? You don't have slippers and hot chocolate and warm up everything is cold all the time. And it feels cold. It looks cold. It's just inhumane. And then you go where you're naturally going to go. People lived here.
And I would like, it's the stories are scary. I'm not going to lie. And I would like to mention that from Alcatraz to the coast of San Francisco is 2 miles.
Yeah, 2 miles. Would you go to Alcatraz?
Heck yeah.
It's a trip. It's a trip. And here's the other thing. There's 2 prisons right there. So from the coast of Christopher Plain, I just tuned in. Jimmy's talking about prison. Yeah. Christopher and I were cellies once. So here's the deal. From the wharf, from anywhere in San Francisco, but from the shore, you look out and there it is, and it's pretty beautiful. It's pretty cool. It's white. It's right there. It just dominates everything. Anything that you do, you look out. There's Alcatraz. And you think to yourself, that's it. That's where prisoners lived. Right there, you can see it. Right, you're eating dinner on the wharf, shrimp scampi. And you're looking at prisoners that are looking at you. I wonder what they're doing in San Francisco right now. Well, right behind it is San Quentin. Right there. There's another San Quentin prison is also right there. So when you take the ferry out there, and there's a little peninsula, but right behind Alcatraz is San Quentin. Right there. It's crazy. It's prison central in San Francisco, man, from the Bay. You're just looking at San Quentin and Alcatraz. But yeah, going out there, you can feel the spookiness. You can only imagine the forlorn, melancholy, depressing existence that was out there. And here's the other part for me, Christine. That's why this place is totally haunted. The prison guards live there. Right?
Yeah, I think that's horrible.
I mean, it just must have been awful. Look at Jessica.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's a player.
She's so sweet.
She's a player.
Did you know that there's now there's like this event called Escape from Alcatraz where you can swim from the Rock to San Francisco?
No, anybody it's. Let me tell you something. I like living. I don't want to be eaten by a shark. I don't want to be mauled by a lion. That would have to be the worst way to go out. Electrocute me, hit by a car. I don't care. I don't want bit by a shark. And San Francisco Bay is full of great white sharks. There's seals, there's things, there's food, there's all kinds of action in there. And it's cold water, and the great white sharks love it. There is no way I would swim from Alcatraz. I would have to have I'd have to have massive floaties.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because I would have a stainless steel medieval mesh suit. There's no way. It's crazy. It's so cold, Christina. And like I said, that's what hits you first. That's the experience. It could be sunny out, but you're dealing with this ice wind, this cold wind. It's forlorn, it's spooky, it's haunted. It's a nasty, nasty, nasty place. And so, how bad is it? How bad of a prison is it, or was it? They had to shut it down because it was just too awful for the prisoners. That's how bad it is. And you feel that vibe when you get there. It's completely haunted. Completely.
I mean, I've only read stories of people that have been there and them just telling that it's a totally different type of vibe as soon as you walk in. But what's really interesting, and before Dan, thank you so much. We will get to that in just a moment. But when I was looking at kind of information about Alcatraz, it could hold up to about 450 people, but the most it ever occupied was about 250. And their cells that these people were in most of the day were about 10 feet by 4 feet. So a pretty confined space, not a lot of people, probably not the best food. It's cold, like you mentioned, and you're just surrounded by water. So, like, let's say you're scared of swimming. I mean, you're going to be there for life.
Yeah, right. So just from what Christina just stated, if you want to experience Alcatraz on your own for yourself, and you don't want to travel to San Francisco, go out into your garage, open up your freezer, climb into it, and close the lid and go to sleep. Because that's what it is. It's that small. These cells are tiny. And steel and concrete walls that are literally as cold as a block of ice. It's crazy. It's nasty.
I can't imagine. Dan says the U.S. Marshal Service released new age progressed images public last week of the 3 men who escaped Alcatraz in 1962, who would now be in their 90s. Must have been a slow week at the office.
I love Dan James.
Thank you so much.
Anybody from Australia gets a pass card on this show. Anybody, and leave it to Dan to know this. Why? Because
genius.
No. Australia, it's criminals. The whole continent.
I've heard those stories.
It was a prison continent.
Yeah, but also it's the giant bugs that scare me, like the really giant spiders.
Oh man, Dan James used to post pictures of those, and every time I would mention something, he's like, "No, that's nothing. Check this out." This is in my living room right now. It's like what? But anyway, everybody go to Alcatraz if you get the chance. It's a great trip. San Francisco is amazing. They really they do it upright, but to go and experience what those prisoners, it was only open for 30 years, something like that, 30, 40 years, not very long. Not very long.
I mean, for it being specifically for dangerous civilian prisoners was from 1934 until 1963. So yeah, about 30 years.
30 years. That's it. It was inhumane. Yeah. You send the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst there, and then you go, you know what?
That's not good enough.
That's yeah, right. Maybe we went too far with this. Let's get you guys off that island. I mean, when you're a mass murderer, bank robber, whatever, police killer, and you're there complaining, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Okay.
Well, let's get into the next one. This one's a new one for me. And we're flying by today's episode. We're taking our time, which I love. This one is the Charman legend. How many of you, and Jimmy including you, how many of you have heard of this legend in California? This was so new to me, but it gave me Freddy Krueger vibes.
Yeah, totally. Just get straight to it. Get straight to it.
All right. So this.
How did you find out about Charman? What kind of weirdness are you?
I just typed in legends in California.
And you got Charman.
And I got Charman, and I was like, what about Charizard, the Pokemon?
Yeah.
Okay. So this particular legend is subject to far more speculation than most. So seemingly everyone has kind of a different version of how the Charman came to be. A few of these stories began in a huge fire in 1948. Some surmise that a firefighter was tragically caught in that particular blaze, burning alive in his suit. Others say that it was a father and son that were badly burned during the fire. The father being killed in the blaze, while his son went mad from the pain and torment, peeling his father's burned skin and hanging the corpse in a tree before retreating into the woods. A third tale revolving around the same 1948 fire was of a woman who was trapped indoors while her husband, badly burned but still breathing, listening to her cries from outside as the fire slowly consumed her. So, with this story, however, after 1948, it was reported that there were no casualties in this fire. So, some of these theories about the origins of Charman don't really hold much weight. So, that's kind of the origin of it. But let's get into what happens if you see one, Jimmy. Would,
I
would,
don't want
would you want to see the Charman?
it is the I mean, really? If you are if you want to see something wrong, if you want to imagine something completely incorrect, something so terrifying, that's it. That's as far as you can go. What would be worse than that? What would be scarier than that? The answer is nothing. I mean, that's
Mm,
just frightening. I mean, that's just frightening. Have you been watching Evil, the TV series?
yes.
Okay.
I've only watched a few episodes, but I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, dude. What's his name? George? He's
Yes.
like Charman, right?
Kind of.
Yeah, he's like Charman.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I and George is funny and everything. Scares the crap out of me. I love that show, Evil. Man, it's great. But
It's good.
picture that for a second.
I
That's
just finished watching Picard. Fantastic.
oh, is it? I haven't
Oh yeah, the
gone
next
through that.
season.
I'm still in the middle of a strange new world with Star Trek. And
I only watched the first episode. Also
what
really
about
good.
Orville? Orville's back. Are you watching Orville?
No, I'm not.
Five.
I'm not watching that. I don't know too much about it. Okay, so let's continue with this story. I know we're getting off. We can talk about TV shows all day. Could do it all day. So you want to be very careful when you see or hear or smell certain things when you're on your own or with your significant other. This story has been such a big legend in California that he even has his own bridge called the
Yeah,
Charman Bridge.
that's right.
So,
Yeah.
wherever the Charman came from, his appearance is unmistakable, covered in horrific burns from head to toe, his skin blackened and peeling, holding together with only a few charred bandages. Before unwary motorists see the spirit, they shall smell his ghastly aroma of burning flesh, if they're lucky. Others say that the Charman is not stealthy, but he's fast, running through the brush, huffing and puffing, getting closer to his target. Others say the Charman is as quiet as a graveyard. And if the Charman catches you, he may have another skin to replace his own. That's the scariest part of the story for me.
I'm,
But,
I,
anyways,
I'm busy responding. I had to mute my mic because I've got this loud. I was sitting here and I saw Christina's face. Church, stop. So I did. I muted. I've got this clackety clackety. What about Obi-Wan? Are you
I
watching
haven't seen it.
Obi-Wan?
I haven't seen it.
Christina, what's up? Forget about your homework. Forget
I
about
don't have a lot of
this.
time. I dedicate small episodes to certain things. I'm
President,
currently watching the newest Star Trek, Strange
President
New Worlds.
forgave student loans. Screw it. Watch some TV. Watch.
My brain's gonna turn into mush at some point. Oh, by the way, I just watched Doctor Strange in the Multiverse. It was good.
It's out. It's out.
I thought it came out in May. I thought it was gonna be better, I thought it was gonna have more science to it. It was good, but I wasn't, like,
When did
incredibly impressed.
that came out in May?
Yeah, it might be end of May.
Now, this is the new movie or the TV series?
The movie. Let me look.
Okay, wait a minute, because I thought the TV series was next. Man, Marvel has loaded up my brain. There's
And
so much.
Loki's so good.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about season 2 of Loki?
They only made 1 season.
1. Okay, when you said that the other day, I just watched Loki. That was last year, Christina.
I know, but I had to watch Loki first before I went ahead and I watched
Christina,
Doctor Strange.
stop with that. You can't do that to me. You know,
Watch me, Jimmy. I will do it.
listen, so I'm in bed. I'm like, Loki season 2. You know, and I was fired up. I was like, man, I can't believe it. I didn't even know it came out. And she saw it, and oh, this is going to be great. It's not out.
It's not out.
What's she
season 1.
talking about?
Season 1. But let's get back to this. I know we're getting so sidetracked. There's so many good TV shows right now and movies, but so there are some teenagers that have been really interested in this, that want to take their person out, go to this bridge, and start calling for help, trying to coax the flaming horror from the tree line. And while there haven't really been too many stories of people actually encountering this Charman, it is a legend that has grown so big since 1948. And it's a scary one. It's a very interesting one. I think great for a campfire for those that like to go camping or those that have, I don't know, like a Boy Scout or Girl Scout troop. This is a great story, but as for the evidence, that is harder to find. But I really did want to cover it because I find it so fascinating.
Okay, one other thing. This is kind of a little sideways. I'll keep it short. Crystal Lake. All right. So Crystal Lake, Jason, right? Is a real place. Crystal Lake is a real place. So we go up there and I was like, what? We're gonna camp where? To my friend Rob, and we've got like 10 of us, a couple of tents, couple of trucks. We go up to Crystal Lake. What? And so we're sitting around the campfire, smoking a little, and telling stories. And Rob goes, okay, has anybody heard of Charman? This is like 40 years ago. And he goes and he tells the story, and we're at Crystal Lake. I'm not making this up. And so where our campsite was, and the fog came in, up over the hill, right down Crystal Lake, right there with the fog chasing. With Charman on my mind. So yes, campfire stories. Plus, it's a real story. It's a real story. And Crystal Lake is a real place. Crystal Lake, look it up, people. Look up Crystal Lake, San Gabriel Valley. It'll take you right into the mountains, and that's where they shot the film. So there you go. Okay, what's next?
I'll let you pick the next one.
Okay, hold on. I knew.
You got 30 minutes left. Let's get into this.
George Adamski.
All right. Let me scroll down to my notes.
Okay, while you're scrolling to your notes, I am going to, as we start to introduce this, let me say this, okay? I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
George Adamski, everybody, George Adamski is responsible for 2 of the most famous photographs in ufology. And this is one. That is a George Adamski image.
And I think it's called the Adamski craft, right? Like that shape got named after him.
And what's crazy about this photograph, man, I hope none of my icons are giving anything away. Do I need to hide my... How do I hide my taskbar?
You can literally just click the photo and have that show alone for when you share your screen.
Really?
Yep.
Now, how is that possible?
So when you go to share screen,
Uh-huh.
okay, you can go to window. So you have entire screen, window, and Chrome tab. You
Uh-huh.
go to window and you have your picture already open. You can click directly on the picture,
Like that?
just like that.
Wow, you are so good. You are so good. This photograph. Now, if you go to the TV show Invaders,
Mhm.
that's the type of craft they have with the 4 or the 3 balls underneath it. Now there was this photograph, and very similar. If you go back to some of the Nazi flying disc
Mhm.
and look at their images, very similar to that. The portals and everything else. It's a very, very dynamic photograph. The underbelly of that saucer shows 3 bulges, maybe for those anti-gravity devices that Lazar mentioned. That's a very good point. Pablo, what does Pablo say, Christina? I can't
That
read.
is what Pablo says. That's what I put up on the screen.
Oh, you put that up as I read it. That's the universe. See, that's a hive mind. Okay, so this is George Adamski. This picture was taken here in Southern California. Okay, now let's go to the next image. Oh, so if I do it like that, then I can't click on next image.
Unless you have them all in the same folder.
Oh, wait. I got it. I got this. What about this? Ah, I have the technology. It's called a mouse. I am so good with this. This is taken on the same day. He took 2 images.
Mhm.
And this also, these 2 images are 2 of the most famous UFO photographs ever taken. They were both taken by George Adamski. Now, this is the high res scan of the original photograph, everybody. So, the original scratches and everything else. This is, look at the wrinkle down here. This is the original photograph from Adamski. A lot of interesting things about this photograph. This edging here, like on the side of a quarter,
Mhm.
right? Some kind of purfling, as they would call that. You can look right here into the portals. You've got the underside of the craft here. This is it's a pretty incredible photograph. That's George Adamski. All right, now we could go to your notes, or I could say a few things that Adamski originally, all of this took over in the early 1950s in the United States. And the exact dates of when all of this stuff went down, there was Mount Palomar here in Southern California
Mhm.
has an observatory on it. And he lived in that. Is that Lulu?
It is.
Lulu, I think one of us owes each other a shirt. Maybe I owe him a shirt, or does I feel like Lulu owes me something, like a hello. Oh, there it is. Hello. All right, we're even. Lulu. Okay, so Mount Palomar. This is right after World War II. Him and his wife are living in that area. One of the, if not probably at the time, the biggest telescope in the world is right up there. He's interested in the research, and he sees at this time what he described as, and we still use this terminology today, a mothership. A mothership. And his photographs of the mothership are very interesting. He ended up, he was out in the desert with a group of friends, and a ship lands off in the distance. And his friends stay, but George decides to go and get a closer view. So he walks over this slight hill, but he disappears. Nobody can see him. He's on the other side. He meets, oh, I can't remember, Orthon.
Yep, that's right.
It's
Orthon.
and has contact. And he comes back and says, the ship landed, man. I just met an alien. And the rest is history.
It's a pretty interesting story. I mean, you have those that believe him and those that believe that he was a total nut job or just trying to collect money. So he really started getting famous in 1952 when he took those incredibly famous photos that you just showed. Now,
Mhm.
he did claim that he took over 500 photos of UFOs, but only a handful have been good ones and that were released to the public. He ended up writing in his book called The Flying Saucers Have Landed.
Right.
He says, and he tells this experience that you just mentioned. It says, a gigantic cigar shaped silvery ship without wings or appendages landed in a flash of light. A man from Venus, shorter than Adamski, but generally human in appearance, with long, beautiful golden hair, emerged. They communicated telepathically for about an hour. Orthon was his name. And he claimed, though he was concerned about the buildup of radioactivity in the Earth's atmosphere, they feel the radiation from the US and Russian atomic tests is a danger to our planet. So he gets pretty famous. He starts giving lectures. He actually gets to meet the Queen of the Netherlands in the 1950s, and
Famous story.
he starts writing all these books, and he's becoming just famous to the point where Carl Sagan speaks to him, J. Allen Hynek speak to him, and they have their own opinions on who they think George Adamski is and what his motives are. So J. Allen Hynek dismissed his photos as crude fakes. And what's interesting about this is that during an encounter that they had, J. Allen Hynek brought several other astronomers with him in the restaurant that Adamski owned. Many people got confused in the fact that Adamski was an astronomer because he lived incredibly close to the biggest telescope at that time. But turns out Carl Sagan had mentioned that Adamski just operates a tiny restaurant in the vicinity of that huge telescope and owns a small one out back. Now, Hynek had mentioned, quote, so we had paid a visit to Adamski's eatery along with some fellow astronomers. Although we tried to engage Adamski in more scientific manners, Hynek said, all he wanted to do was sell me photos. So this is kind of where Adamski is a rather controversial figure when it comes to the UFO community. Was he serious? Did he really have contact? Was he just a con man? Or was he just absolutely crazy?
Everything took off. Now, some say it wasn't even a restaurant. It was like a burger stand, on the side of the road, and there was a lot of people that were taking cracks at him, right? Where it's not a restaurant. He's flipping burgers, right? Trying to attack the character of the man, but this took off. He was not only a celebrity in UFO circles, he was a celebrity, period. The books were big sellers. When he went to Europe, you just mentioned the Queen of the Netherlands. He was treated like royalty over there. I'm not joking about this. He went to the Vatican. He met the Pope.
For a secret meeting.
Yeah. And now, are the stories true? Are they not? Is it all made up? Well, I don't know. The celebrity and what was happening. So at the same time, George Adamski became such an important figure in this contactee movement that happened all through the 50s and the 1960s into the early 1970s. So we're talking 20 years of this phenomenon, which got big. This was not some little funny little thing with people playing gin at their house on Friday nights. We're talking about tens of thousands of people getting together. George Van Tassel, Giant Rock, George Adamski is the featured guy. Two Georges, by the way, is the featured celebrity out there with tens of thousands of people. And everywhere that George went, Adamski, wherever he spoke, whatever he did, it was he was a rock star. This was not some dude flipping burgers, pimping 8x10 glossy photos out of his restaurant. No, this was a big, big, big deal. Now, I have seen. I've never been on the George Adamski side of things. I seriously question him and his experiences. I'm going to get back to that in a second. But I will not discount his celebrity or his influence. No, that part was real. He was a huge, huge, huge figure and personality. Television and radio and things and appearance. It was nuts. And he wrote a bunch of books, not just one. But what threw me off for George, I love the first two photographs, right? Maybe he built a little model. Maybe he was on a fishing string. I don't know. Photos are cool, though. Okay. That being said, his mothership photos and the other stuff that came out later, which is what J. Allen Hynek was talking about and others. Look, he's just a little dude too, Adamski. Yeah, that's a great photograph right there. Thank you for that. His mothership photographs, no. And that's what deflated everything for me when it came to George. It looked like just a light exposure on film. It was done on purpose, on a negative, and things, and it was just manipulated. It wasn't a money. That's just me, but I always believe what my eyes tell me, Christina. So very early on with George, I appreciated the stories. I love those first two photographs and bringing awareness to the subject, to the masses like he did. He was responsible for that, him and along with the George Van Tassel. When most people don't realize, because we can talk about something like Contact in the Desert. Now, Contact in the Desert, recent, was a pretty big event right there in Joshua Tree that grew, but it only lasted. I don't know if there will be another Contact in the Desert. We're in 2022, and I don't know if it's going to come back. So Contact in the Desert was around 2014 to 2019. So what is that? 5 years, right? These Van Tassel, Adamski get-togethers went on for 25 years. 25 years with 15,000 people, 20,000 people gathered in the desert. So we talk about UFO conferences today, and we could talk about Richard Dolan and Linda Moulton Howe. This is great. I love it. Nothing compared to what went down because of George Adamski and his photographs in the contactee movement, along with George Van Tassel from 1952 all the way to the early 1970s. So think about that. So that's the importance of somebody like George Adamski and certainly George Van Tassel and California.
It just goes to show how important presentation skills are. You can have the best information, but if you do not present it the way that your audience wants it, you're not going to be successful. Unfortunately, that is the case. So George Adamski, George Van Tassel, they were fantastic storytellers. They were great presenters.
Love it.
And that makes a really big difference. Again, if you have a bunch of really great information, if you're not good at presenting, you're going to have 5 people sitting in the audience.
I want the right people to tell the story. If I'm sitting
right.
at a campfire, you don't want me telling the story of Charman. No, you want George Adamski.
or Jim Harold. He's such a good storyteller as well.
He's not even fair.
He's really good. Okay, so we have 15 minutes left.
That's it?
I know, right? Yeah. We got 15 minutes left. See, Mysteries of California Part 2 might be a Part 3. Will it be? I don't know. Probably not. We covered a lot in these last 2 episodes, but this one, I want to cover it. I'm going to let you guess. I'm going to let people in the audience guess, and you, Jimmy, what the next case we're going to cover.
I'm covering it. This is it, right?
No.
Winchester.
No, it's not that. Yes, it is that one. Sorry.
Do you know why it's called the Winchester House?
Yes.
Why?
Because it was the wife of Winchester that made the Winchesters.
The wife of.
Yeah, exactly. So this one's such a cool story. I actually knew about this story. It showed on TV. I don't even remember who was showing this house, but it blew my mind. And I'm like, we have to cover it. We're going to cover it
Many
today.
documentaries on the Winchester House, and they're all great.
The Winchester Mystery House. Well, why is it mysterious? Well, for those in the live chat, how many of you have heard of this ginormous house that kind of, after an earthquake, got a lot smaller, but it's a pretty bizarre one. Usually, for the most part, when you are building a house or a building or even a car, you have a blueprint. You map out exactly what you're going to do. This wasn't the case for Sarah Winchester. Her husband just died. She lost one of her children a while back. So she inherited, at that time, $20 million, which is present day $500 million.
Big money.
Big money. So much money. She was like, you know what? I'm going to buy that little piece of land right there, that little house, and I'm going to build on it. But you know what? I'm just going to wing it. I'm just going to wing this house. And oh my goodness, did she wing it?
Yeah, she did.
So,
do you have a before and after?
I do not have a before and after, but I do have a more recent picture when it was only 3 stories, because the original house that she had built was 7 stories tall. However, there was an earthquake and a lot of it got destroyed. So now it is open to the public. You are able to take tours, and it is currently only 3 stories tall. So with this, here's another one. This house is bizarre. Now, there's a lot of theories on why it was built the way it was, but for instance, there are staircases that lead to nowhere. It doesn't go anywhere. There's a doorway, and this is a really blurry photo, that you would fall to your death if you opened that door and you weren't paying attention. And here's another side photo of this just spectacular house. And Sarah Winchester spent 30 years constructing this house, just when she felt like it, really. Her neighbors had always stated that there was constant construction there. But the very interesting thing about this home are the potential theories on to why she built it. So
share this image. You ready?
I'm ready. My goodness.
That's it.
It's a monster.
That's back when it was finished, and you can see the extra 4 stories there that Christina was just referencing. So right now, this is these 1, 2, 3, 4 stories. It's called the Winchester Tower. All of this area here, all of this is gone. And there were other sections of the house that collapsed in the earthquake too and weren't rebuilt. So, but this was it originally. So when I want everybody to picture in your mind, and Sarah was pretty cool. I want to go on the record about that. She wanted to confuse ghosts and
that's
spirits.
Right.
And she wanted them to get lost in the house, maybe go down a hallway, open up a door and fall out and not come back in, get stuck on a stairway that goes to nowhere. And that was the intention of
right. And
this. Look at this picture. That is a house built to confuse spirits. And she was a 100% on board with this.
She was incredibly aware that what her husband had created was a weapon, and it had killed tons and tons of people.
That's right.
So after he had passed, she made a vow to herself, and again, this is merely theory. She did not leave a diary. She didn't leave anything for people to kind of follow up on her thoughts. But it's believed that she created this home so that people that have died because of a Winchester could come into this home and stay there and get confused and not really be able to leave after that. And when it was 7 stories tall, it had 161 rooms, 47 fireplaces, 10,000 panes of glass, 2 basements, 3 elevators, and it was created with a specific red wood. However, she actually hated the way the red wood looked. So the whole house was built with this exclusive redwood. She hated it. So she used 20,000 gallons of paint to paint over the wood.
Check this out. I had to mute because I'm typing. I just don't want to get that. I don't want to have Christina go like that again. It freaked me out.
I didn't hear you typing the first time or this time.
You're just being kind. You're just being kind.
No.
Okay, share this.
All right.
This is the Winchester house today. Look at that.
It's a monster.
That is just crazy. And it's right there in San Jose, California. It's a huge tourist attraction.
Mm-hmm.
You can go and take your tour, but that's what she spent her inheritance on. That was blood money in her eyes, and she was not cool with it. And again, good on her. I mean, good on her. But that's right here in California, man, San Jose. Can you imagine, San Jose back when the house was built? San Jose had like 36 people living there, right? And then suddenly this woman, with the
in 1884.
Yeah, $500 million says, I'm going to hire everybody in town and you're all going to build what I ask you to build, and I'm not going to spare any expense.
And don't question me either.
Nope. And she employed the town, and this thing got built. It was the biggest thing in San Jose.
That's right. It was a beast of a house, the biggest of its time. Again, it started to build in 1884. Now, as Jimmy and I have mentioned, you're able to tour this mansion, and I just looked it up how much it is. It's $42 for an hour and 5 minutes to tour the entire house. But if you want to take your little muffins with you, your little kids from between 5 and 12, it's only $20. So if you do want to go, take pictures and send them to me, because I definitely want to see if you enjoyed yourself.
You say your little muffins?
I did.
That's well done.
Well done. Cute.
Yeah. Yeah. So I haven't been there. I've been to San Jose so many times. And I know it seems like I've been no, I have not. I have not. I could do it this weekend. No, I can't do it this weekend.
Well, when you go live stream for everyone to see and send pictures and enjoy yourself. Dan says, and this is fact, they found a new attic room in 2020, which they guess was boarded up after the 1906 earthquake, taking the total rooms to 161. And to my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm wrong, they did find some like special paintings and extra furniture, I believe,
right?
in that attic.
161 rooms, kind of like your apartment, right? It's kind of like that, 161 rooms.
My dorm apartment is 2 rooms, the bathroom and then a room. That's it.
And so let's can we explore this for a second?
No.
100 and not you. The 161 rooms. You would you would
imagine all the dust.
You would have to okay. You got 365 days in a year.
Okay.
You would have to visit one room every other day for a year and not repeat in order to see the whole house.
But out of the 161 rooms, there were only 13 bathrooms. Should have been more.
See, kind of like your dorm, if you think about it. And see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Let's stay on this for a second. How much space do you really need, right? And so let's say I live there, you live there. I would venture to guess there probably 161 rooms. I'm going to venture to say that there were 150 rooms, 150 that she was only in once. That's it. You're not going to, you know what I mean? You only have so much time in the day. You have to live. And so you are not out in this ginormous house every single day. What's the reason for 161 rooms? To trap spirits, right? That your bullets, killed. And that's why you would do something like this.
There's just a lot of furniture and dust and like cleaning,
That's 161 rooms, and I'm just going to go on the record. I've had 3-room apartments that I couldn't keep clean. Right? 161 room. Look at here. Pop this up again. Share this again before we say goodbye. But I just
didn't share anything yet.
I got to click my mousey thing.
Jonas, I thank you so much. Is that so? Washington State is next? No, it's going to be a surprise, and I'm going to let all of you guys know. Probably Wednesday. Nope, Tuesday. Oh, we're going to get into that a little bit later. Details are changing because I know it's summer, and school and work. So the hours and sometimes even the days are changing. So I will keep all of you posted on the next Mysteries with the History for next week.
What a great show. And we left literally the entire list there. We got to 3 things today, but no, 4. We got to include Charman. But I got Crystal Lake in there.
Hey, you did.
Yeah, I did. I've got to go get back to work, everybody. I'll see you tonight on the show, Christina. I will see this person later on tonight over at in the chat room and over at Fade to Black. It's open lines tonight. It's Fader night. It's Thursday.
The best night of the week.
It is the best night of the week, and I am able to do this at the end of every show with you because you host the greatest show on Thursdays, and then we have Fader night later on that night, and I'm able to say, everybody, I'll see you tonight over on Fade to Black. I love it. Thank you so much, Christina. Everybody, behave and be well. I'll see you tonight on Fade to Black.
All right, bye. Well, that is it for Mysteries of California Part 2. Next week, I will keep you updated on the details. As I said a little bit earlier, things are kind of changing up. My work schedule, my school schedule, summer school classes. So I will keep you informed. Follow me on Twitter at eyes_on_the_sky so that you stay up to date with the information that I drop down. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. Please make sure to like it, share it with those that have the same interest, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube if you haven't already. If you are listening to this on podcast format, write a review. Say it was great. And if it wasn't great, don't write a review at all. Be safe. And remember, keep your eyes on the skies.